Welcome to the CareerJitsu podcast, where we connect the art of Jiu-Jitsu with your career. Our mission is to empower and inspire you with engaging conversations and valuable insights from people just like you who benefit from the shared relationship between your workplace and the art of Jiu-Jitsu, leading you to a more fulfilling and successful life. Welcome to the CareerJitsu podcast. Today we are so excited to have a special guest. His name is Carlos Figueroa. Carlos is a pharmacy technician supervisor, and he has also been training in Jiu-Jitsu for 15 years. He's a BJJ brown belt. So he has a lot of experience on the mat, and he also has a lot of experience as a pharmacy technician supervisor as well. So he is going to do a great job at giving us some valuable insights into his career and Jiu-Jitsu. So what do you think, Frank?
I'm very, very excited about this. Carlos just joined our gym, so we're just getting to know him. So this is going to be a great experience for us to tap into his experience. And so, Carlos, thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate your time on this Saturday. We know you must have 1,000,001 things to do, and now you have 1,000,002. So we appreciate your presence here. Let's just get started with your career in the pharmaceutical industry. You're a supervisor, technician. Now, that means that you supervise a team of pharmacy technicians, correct? Tell us a little bit about how you got into that.
Sure. First, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the podcast, and I'm excited to be part of the Team Link family again. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure.
So I've been a pharmacy technician for over 20 years, and I worked in several aspects of pharmacy. I worked in community pharmacy. I worked in long-term care pharmacy, and for the last 15 years, I've been working in hospital pharmacy, different aspects of pharmacy. So I've been the pharmacy technician supervisor at UMass Memorial now for about 3 years, and I love my job. It's difficult. It's difficult managing people. I have over 30 technicians under me, and it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge managing people, getting them motivated, getting them engaged. I would say that's my biggest challenge, is getting people engaged. Our job is it's a serious job. We're taking care of people. The hospital cannot operate if we don't get the medications to our patients. So we provide medications to patients that are admitted to the hospital. So we don't work with prescriptions per se. So we're not like a CVS where you walk in with a prescription and you get your medication. We deal with patients that are admitted to the hospital, who are there for...
So the doctors get their medicine directly from you?
Correctly.
Okay.
Correct. The doctors enter their orders into the system. We process those orders, we prepare the medications, and then we bring those medications out to the hospital, to the
And
patient.
sometimes, I'm assuming sometimes you have to get those medications out quickly, right?
There are stat medications, and those medications have to be there pretty quickly.
Wow.
And you really have a zero margin of error. You can't give somebody a double dose of something by accident.
There are lots of errors that can occur, and yes, we strive for perfection, let's say. Of course, there's errors do occur. Wherever humans are involved,
Right.
there can be errors. So we're constantly looking at the process, trying to improve the process, trying to correct the process.
Do you guys get any kind of like Six Sigma training or anything like that?
We do lean training.
Lean.
We do lean training.
All statistical based, procedural.
Yes, right. So we're always looking at how to reduce waste. How to optimize our time, our efficiency, and reduce waste in the process at every level.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So speaking of time, efficiency, pressure, sounds a lot like Jiu-Jitsu, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about when you got into Jiu-Jitsu, what got you into it, and then how has your journey been up to here?
Sure. So I started jujitsu actually in my 30s, which is sort of late. But I was always interested in jujitsu. My college roommate actually was he was a wrestler. He was a wrestler in high school, and he was always into martial arts. He was into kung fu, and he was the one that sort of introduced me to grappling originally. And I remember, him telling me, "Oh, there's going to be this event. We've got to watch it. It's going to be, all the different martial arts are going to be coming together, and it's going to be the best of the best, and it's going to decide which martial art is the best." And he was talking about UFC 1, and, we were all excited. We watched it, and I mean, I was amazed. I was amazed at what I saw, and that sort of planted the seed. I didn't get to start practicing jujitsu until later in my life, but it was always there. And one thing you guys may not know about me, but my father was a boxing coach.
Oh, wow.
So that's what he did his whole life.
Okay.
He's still alive. He's retired now, but he did. He was a boxing coach for over 40 years. He was a pro boxer in his day, and
Pro boxer. Wow.
yeah.
So
So
did he
boxing,
train you at all?
of course, boxing's in the blood. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, yeah. And you didn't give your dad a hard time either, I'm
No,
sure.
no. My dad's a small guy. Small guy. He's about 5'7", maybe. He's about 100. Well, when he fought, he was about 147 pounds. But you don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
You never want to mess with him because he's
He
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
So you know how to bob,
Yeah.
weave, throw hooks, all that.
See,
oh yeah.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
always had fighting in you. You kind of
always
had fighting in your blood already,
always. Yeah. So he trained me, my sisters. We didn't have a choice.
So that's what kind of inspired you to learn jujitsu a little bit too, because you had that competitive
always
combat mindset already.
always had that combat pugilistic aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pugilistic.
we were always.
So why jujitsu later? Like, you did boxing, but then you transitioned kind of to
Yeah,
focusing on jujitsu.
So like I said, boxing was always there, but mom was adamant. You can train all you want. You're not going to fight. You're not gonna do what your dad does or what your dad did. My dad. God bless him. He's 75 years old. But punch drunk is a real thing. You know what I mean? So the blows to the head,
Yeah.
it catches up to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So his memory is not the best. He's fine. He's fine. But you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell as the years have gone on
Yep.
that it took a toll. It took a toll. So I'm glad my mom
Yeah.
said, hey,
Yeah.
you're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
So, we trained. I played baseball for years. Baseball was like my number one sport. So I eventually I made it to jujitsu. Eventually I started jujitsu
In your 30s.
in my 30s, and I started training in a basement in
Good story.
in Midtown Mall in Worcester. My first instructor was his name is Marcelo, and he knew my dad. He knew my dad. So when I wanted to start training, my dad said, "Well, why don't you go see Marcelo?" And Marcelo was a purple belt at the time, but he had his own gym. So I went down there, started training with Marcelo, and that's where I got my start. I trained with him for a few years, and that was great. Eventually, I think he closed his gym down, and then I ended up at Dan Simler's gym, Worcester MMA, I think it's called. And I trained there for about 2.5 years, or a year and a half, I should say, a year and a half. And then I think I ended up getting married, and I had to move, so I had to stop training for a little while. And I ended up coming back to Worcester. When I came back to Worcester, I was like, I want to try something different. So I ended up at Team Link, and that's when I started training at Team Link in Worcester.
Yeah.
And I was there for.
So were there any is there any defining moment or defining moments that you were like, yeah, I need to learn jujitsu. Like, this is great. Like,
Oh, absolutely. From day one, training with Marcelo, But I would say the first time that it really hit me was when I went to Team Link. Even when I trained in with at Similars, it was fine. It was amazing. I learned a lot. But when I went to Team Link, I remember I've always been a bigger guy. I rolled with a small, thin, 130 pounds soaking wet brown belt who just
tooled on you.
just
Yeah.
was all over me. I could not get him off of me. I mean, he was just like,
Yeah.
he was just all over me. He was
Here's
like,
this guy 200 pounds less than you, and he's like choking you up.
yeah, he was like a backpack on me, and I just couldn't get him off. And I'm like, and it was just like, that was the moment.
Yeah.
I was like, this is it. I have to learn
You
this.
saw the magic of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think all of us had an experience like that, right? Where
Yeah.
we're like, this is magic.
Yeah,
It's like you have some kind of magical power that I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu-
Especially like I'm not a big person, but you're a big guy, right?
Yeah.
So to have that happen,
Mm-hmm.
and you're an athletic guy, so you know how to defend yourself.
Right.
But you're like, this person's got a brown belt. He's
Mhm.
just a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great
Yeah.
first experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just get into like a broad question first that I've just been dying to ask you, and then we can get more into the specifics. But today in society, it seems like, in American society at least, it seems like we look to the pharmaceutical companies to give us a pill for everything. And, sometimes it is necessary, right? But other times, do you think in our society, for example, we are, instead of doing our exercise, eating well, meditating, taking care of our mental health, do you think we're looking maybe too much to the pharmaceuticals to cure every little problem that life throws at us? Do you see that happening in our culture?
I do see that to a certain point. I do see, us looking for shortcuts. Let's put it that way. If we're looking for shortcuts, expecting medicine, slash pharmaceuticals to be able to solve all our issues, when a lot of our issues could be solved by staying active, eating right, taking care of your mental health. We talked about that a little earlier. And I feel like jiu-jitsu is great for a lot of that. I feel like, for instance, as far as mental health goes, sometimes you just don't have it in you to go to class. You know what I mean? You feel like, I just don't have it today. I'm tired. I just don't. And in my 15 years of jiu-jitsu, most of those days when I go to class, those are my best days. When I don't have it, when I feel like I don't have it, either mentally or physically, like, man. Though I think if I were to say anything to some of the younger guys who are coming up, like, those are the days you really need to go to class. Those are the days you really need.
Those are automatic wins, right? No matter
Absolutely.
how you perform,
Absolutely.
because when you're feeling great and you have
Yep.
the energy, that's not a win.
Right.
You're going because you're
Yep.
like, oh, I got energy, I feel good, I'm gonna have a good night.
Yep.
When you feel like crap
Yep.
and you're like, I didn't eat well, I didn't sleep well, I should just take a night off, and you go, that's an automatic W in your column for showing up.
Yeah. And those days, I feel like you have an opportunity to learn more than on the days that you feel great. When you don't have it, you gotta rely
You're
on,
building that character.
right.
The
Right.
character of doing what you don't want to do.
And you gotta rely
get
on
what you
technique.
want.
You gotta rely on technique. You might not be as
Right.
strong that day.
You might turtle up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, what I'm hearing from this, Carlos, is that it's almost like jiu-jitsu is a pharmaceutical in itself.
Oh, sure.
It's a medicine. It's you're not feeling like you want to go, like what you guys are saying is you're not feeling like you want to go, but when you go and you feel so much better when you do. So it's like, man, jiu-jitsu was my medicine tonight. I
Absolutely.
didn't even realize it, but it was my
Absolutely.
medicine tonight.
Right,
Absolutely.
because you guys have both had the experience that you were like low on energy, didn't feel great about yourself, whatever. And you're like, let me just go. I'll take it easy. I'll do it. I'll flow roll, whatever I need to do. When you leave, it's almost as if you took a pharmaceutical and you're like, oh, I got energy. I feel good about myself.
Mhm.
And you go home, you take a cold shower, you're alive.
Yeah.
Like the people who drink the monsters, you know how the people drink monsters? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I need that.
Yeah,
That is a monster.
yeah. The
But
jiu-jitsu monster.
there's no crash afterwards, right?
Right.
Yep. And
Yeah.
one other thing, I just as far as like health benefits go, I mean, I hadn't trained for probably a year and a half to 2 years before I signed up.
Mhm.
And, I'm 53 years old, and I was feeling it. You know what I mean? I was feeling it. I was, at work, I'm sitting at a desk, probably 75% of the day I'm sitting at my desk, getting up from my desk, I would feel it, what I mean? Like, man, this doesn't feel so good. You know what I mean? And already in the month that I've been training, I feel so much better in the mornings, when I'm getting up, just walking down the stairs at work. I can feel like getting some of the hop in my step back, you know what I mean? And because
You're
I'm
going,
getting my flexibility back, and you lose that slowly, so you don't really feel it. But when you do, you're like, oh man, this, when did this come about? But it's slowly coming back, and it feels good. It feels good.
Jiu-Jitsu definitely turns the chronometer
Sure.
backwards. And this is not to be judgmental or anything, but I hear people in their 30s sometimes saying, "Oh, when you're 30s, getting out of your car, you feel it's hard to get out of your car." And I'm telling you, if they did jujitsu, they
Mm-hmm.
would not think it was hard to get out of their car. They might after practice, because that's the good kind of sore,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That good kind of sore, like, oh man, like I really had a good.
Mhm.
But in general, if you practice jujitsu when you're in your 30s, you're not going to say, oh, getting up the 3 flight of steps, oh, it's killing me,
Mhm.
or getting out of my car is killing me. It really does turn back the clock
Yep.
for your body, as long as you take care of your body.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go ham every roll.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think a big theme that we talk about in this podcast a lot is exactly that, how jujitsu improves your overall wellness, and that, when you do jujitsu, your work performance will be better. Your productivity will be better. When you get to work, you'll feel better.
Mm-hmm.
If you were doing jujitsu and that's your medicine, you're going to go to work and you're going to feel better. And if you feel better, you perform better at work.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's your favorite time of the program, tap in time. So we hope you're enjoying our interview with Carlos. We're just going to toss it out there for anybody who's in the pharmaceutical industry, anybody who's a pharmacist, or really anybody who's running a team of maybe 30 people like Carlos is. Have you seen some of the similar parallels? Has Jiu-Jitsu helped you in your career? Let us know. We're dying to hear from you. And it's like you were saying that Jiu-Jitsu is kind of like a pharmaceutical, but also for the mental health, because a lot of people, that was just the fairy saying, look at that was the Jiu-Jitsu fairy saying yes, sprinkling the dust on it, saying yes, this is what I wanted you to say. That it also, Jiu-Jitsu also is therapy for people,
Mm-hmm.
because it puts you in the moment, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say, sometimes you have a really crappy day at work, and you come to jujitsu, and when you get to class, you have so many things on your mind, and then at the end of class, your mind, at least for me, at the end of class, my mind's like a blank sheet of
Mm.
paper. I'm just
It's a shower for your brain.
absolutely, I'm just, all that's gone, and I'm just relaxed, and my mind is just open to whatever.
It's like an anxiety shower.
Yeah, and then you're sleeping better. And if
Yeah.
you're sleeping better, you're
Yeah.
waking up in the morning
Yeah.
and you're more productive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I get a hallelujah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Seriously. So one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, has BJJ taught you anything that has made you a better leader or a team player in your career?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the big things that we talk about um, in our training, in our management training, and in our lean training is developing trust with your team. And it it's hard to do. I'll be honest with you. It's hard to do. Some people just inherently don't trust you when you're coming from a position, a supervisory position or whatever. But it's something that I work on all the time. I try to work on daily. It's developing trust with my team, and I feel that BJJ helps with that all the time. Developing trust with your training partners, developing trust with your instructors. Um, you know how it is when you're rolling with a new white belt. They can be they can be so spazzy, and you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to hurt anybody else. So you got to develop that trust with your training partners. And it's the same way at work. You got to develop trust with your coworkers, with your employees. So in that aspect, BJJ has helped a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine, Carlos, the trust that you have to have in your environment. Because can you talk a little bit about the environment that you're in at work? Because I know you said that there's different types of pharmacy technicians can work in, like a CVS, or
Mm,
but they also can work in the hospital, which is your setting.
right.
So can you help our listeners understand a little bit about what it's like as a pharmacy technician in a hospital? Because I think you mentioned a little bit earlier about how that environment can be very fast paced.
Mm,
And you also mentioned about how jujitsu is kind of like chess, like a
mm,
chess match.
absolutely.
So can you elaborate a little bit on like the connection there between like the environment at your work and
Yeah.
like how you relate that to jujitsu?
Sure. The environment can get very stressful. You don't know who's going to be walking through the doors at the hospital, how sick they're going to be. You don't. So, you know, you can have times that are slow. You can have times that are tremendously busy. So you have to be ready for all that. So we. Sorry, I kind of forgot the question. If we can.
Yeah, so the environment that
Yeah.
you're in is fast paced, right? So there's
Yes.
a lot going on. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things, a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And you have to trust the
Yes.
people that are working under you, that they
Yes.
know the system, they know the
Right.
procedures,
Right. Right. Right.
and putting your trust in them is really important to be able to
Hmm.
get those medicines out that you
Yeah.
need to.
Yep.
So working in that fast paced environment, like how does that relate for you?
Yeah, so we develop that trust through training. Um, we do an extensive training um, process. We go over, there's several different systems that the technicians have to learn, several computer systems. It's not all one system that runs the hospital or our pharmacy. We have the system that the physicians use. We have the system that runs our we have these robots. They're called carousels. So we have a system that runs that. Then we have a system that runs our drug management and our inventory system. So there's several systems
Wow.
they have to
A lot of
learn.
moving
Yeah, and
parts.
you're managing all these
Yeah.
systems.
So that's the chessboard that
That's
you're
that's
talking about.
exactly what I
That's the
mean by
chessboard.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
the chessboard.
So a lot of training, a lot of training, a lot of retraining, and then the chessboard for me is, you know, you have people who have their strengths and weaknesses. I have to identify those strengths and weaknesses and then try to plan out, my day, my schedule, knowing who's doing
Who
what
you,
their strengths are,
uh-huh.
where I can put them, where they're going to be
Right.
successful, where someone might not be so successful, and just juggle that daily
Yeah.
and monthly.
Yeah.
And then of course someone may not be as strong in some area. I got to try and train them up and get them to a certain level so that I can trust them and move them into other areas. So
Mm.
it's difficult also because it's also like we have like this moving goalpost too. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
we're training for this right now. Here's the
Yeah.
goalpost.
Yeah.
And then, next week, Board of Pharmacy changes the rules because that's just the way it is. And then now the goalpost is over here. So now
Yeah.
we have to train everybody to start moving towards this.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, but that's
Yeah.
the environment.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah. And
that's the job.
do you think the mindset on the mats in jiu-jitsu, do you think that type of mindset translates into that type of environment at work too? Or
Sure, sure. You have to be, when you're rolling, when you're rolling with people, especially in competitions. When we train with our partners here, we get to know what they like to do, their tendencies. But when you're rolling with people that you don't know,
mm,
you got to be ready for everything. So you have to be willing to be malleable, I guess is the word I would use. You can't be um, so
Tunnel vision.
tunnel vision or have one mindset. You have to be able to adapt to what the other person, what your opponent is doing, and that translates to my career and work as well. I can't go in there saying, okay, you're going to do this and that's what you're going to do. And I learned that pretty early in that position, that I can't just go in there and say this is what's going to happen. No, I have to listen to what my team's telling me, try to process that, and then do what's best for the team. But it's not what I want. It's what's going to work best for
In
the
that
team.
situation,
Yeah,
that
and having
circumstance.
yeah, and having those different backgrounds
Yeah.
and backgrounds and abilities you talked about too,
Yeah.
putting people in the right position for success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on the mats, that's a challenge too.
Yeah.
I know that for me, as an instructor or as a coach, and you being a brown belt, Carlos, you've been in situations where you've had to help teach a little bit
Oh,
too.
sure. Oh, yeah.
So you understand this too as a coach, that on the mats, you have to put people in the position for success as well.
Mm,
You have to put people in situations where they're not, you can't take a white belt and just throw them in there with some athletic competition level brown belt that's going to smash them and
right.
then damage their confidence.
Right.
You
And
need to
I
be able
think we
to
talked a
take care
little
of each
bit
other.
about that the other day in class. Someone was asking you about promotions, and you were mentioning, yeah, I'm not gonna move someone up or too early. It could damage their confidence. I'm not gonna put them in against someone who's been training no gi, even though they're a young 17-year-old, but they've been training no gi for 10 years. I'm not gonna put a white belt who's only been training for 2 years.
Mhm.
You got to be careful with people's confidence and things like that.
Yeah,
So
'cause there's
yeah,
a bigger picture. There's a bigger
yeah,
purpose,
right,
in
right.
jiu-jitsu, and there's a bigger purpose in your workplace too,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
in pharmaceuticals, the big purpose is you got to get that medicine to people.
Right.
They need
Right.
it.
Right.
And you have your chessboard
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you get that medicine to those
Right.
people.
Right.
And Jason, it's like you do in the gym. A lot of times you match people up for
Mm-hmm.
roles
Mm-hmm.
because you're watching out for people. You're like, this person would benefit with that person.
Yeah.
This person looks dead. I'm going to put them with this person. This
Yeah.
person needs more confidence, or this person needs a competitive role.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing. You have your chessboard. He's got his chessboard,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. And the big thing at least in pharmacy is reminding people. Sometimes we forget. We go to work every day, and work kind of beats you down after a while. You know what I mean? But you have to remind people our ultimate goal is to take care of these sick people.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Right, the
So
big purpose. You gotta like look. Sometimes in the workplace, especially you probably notice this a lot in being a supervisor of many technicians, that sometimes those technicians also get that tunnel vision that you talked about,
mm-hmm.
where they just get so involved in their work and what they're doing that they can't see what else is going on
Right.
around them.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think jujitsu really teaches you to be able to adapt and be able to understand other people, that there are other people on the mats, not just yourself.
Right.
And that and I always say this all the time on the mats, right, Frank? That the most important person on the mat is your training
Training
partner.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that is true.
And at work, the most important people at your workplace are those technicians that have to get that medicine out, right?
Right.
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 And another aspect I would say about jujitsu and correlating to the workplace is, when you start training jujitsu, we train jujitsu. It's for health, it's for benefits. It's also for some self defense, right? And when you start training jujitsu, you sort of, or I would say before jujitsu, you're just out in the world and you're just sort of like going through things. But then once you start training jujitsu, you start to see the world through a different lens, and you sort of like you're not so naive, I would say, and you're sort of like in this, okay, things do happen out
Right.
there, and I have to be ready. And you're sort of
Awareness,
your
a
antenna
level of awareness.
and your antennas up. And I think jujitsu helps in work because I have to keep my antennas up and see what's happening and see what's going on and be able to
Yeah, make
react.
that quick decision,
Yeah.
quick decision making a lot of times. Yeah. So, the other thing is, I thought about in your line of work too is, you have to kind of pay attention to details a lot, right? Because you mentioned about all of these different systems that you have,
Hmm.
and if you're looking at a system and you miss something, you
Hmm.
miss that little detail that you needed to know
Hmm.
that was an important detail,
Yeah.
and you missed it. Now that could mess up a lot of different things. It can have a chain reaction and cause a lot of
Absolutely.
other problems too.
Absolutely.
So Can you talk a little bit for our listeners so they understand a little bit about how that relates in your workplace to understanding jiu-jitsu a little bit too? Because there are also procedures in jiu-jitsu. We talk about that, how you got to make sure you have the right grips before you start passing the guard.
Hmm.
You can't just go and
Climbing
jump
the
past
tree.
somebody's guard. You can't,
Yeah.
you
Well,
have to be able to find the right grips in the right position before you can start working a submission.
yeah.
So that procedural or that, systems and processes concept, how does that relate to the mats and your workplace?
So when we do identify um, an area that needs improvement, or if there's an actual error and we want to review it, we sit down with we have a team that goes through it. We talk about the error. We identify the error. We talk about it. We talk about how to improve the error, how to prevent the error. We don't place blame on individuals. We try to look at the issue and solve it objectively.
Yeah.
Um, and and a lot of times, one of the terms that we use over and over is we call it like the Swiss cheese model. Like a lot of times you start with one error, and then it just creates a chain reaction, and then it just goes through like Swiss cheese, all these different holes, and it makes it to wherever it made it to. Um, and I correlate that with jujitsu as well, because if you're rolling with somebody and you miss that detail, and they got a cross collar grip, and you try and pass, and you miss that detail, and you think you're safe, and you get the side control, all of a sudden you're getting choked out. You're
Yeah.
like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
I passed the guard.
In
What
there,
happened?
yes.
You missed that one
Yeah, you
detail,
missed that cross
and
color grip.
it led to consequences down the road. And it's sort of the same thing. You have to identify those details. Those details are very important. You want to break that grip. I usually, when I've been teaching white belts, I always tell them, you've got to break those grips before you go anywhere. You know what I mean? If your opponent is controlling you, you don't want to start a pass. You don't want to start something that you're just heading down
Mhm.
the wrong path. You want to be in control when you start to attack. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that whole concept, finding solutions rather than talking about problems. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
it's a good to identify a problem, but if you identify the problem and you hang on to that problem too
Mhm.
long, it just creates more problems.
Right.
You have to identify the problem and then quickly find a solution to the problem.
Mhm.
And I think jujitsu really teaches that very well,
Mhm.
just in real time. We talk
Yep.
about that, right, Frank? And how jujitsu just is in your problem solving is in real time.
Yes.
There's a problem there. You're like, boom, I got to fix this quick. If I don't fix it, if I don't make the decision to find a solution without worrying
The
about
problem's going to
the
exacerbate.
problem's
Yeah.
behind you. The
Mhm.
problem's behind you 0.2 seconds ago.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And it's also problem solving, like he just said, in retrospect too. We do a lot of that after our rolls, right? What do we do? Exactly what he said. The Swiss cheese, right? Okay, so what happened there? And so you have learning on the job learning, and then you have reflective learning,
Right.
both types.
And I sort of see a little bit of a parallel between we have these teams that we have. They're called unit-based teams, and they're small groups of technicians that get together and talk about issues, and they try to come up with solutions on their own,
Mm.
and they bring it to management and say, okay, we've identified this problem. We think that doing this, and this will help alleviate those problems. And, I correlate that to our, after class, our after class little get together where we're sitting down after rolls and we're all
Absolutely.
tired. But then, you might ask a question and someone will chime in, but we get together and we talk about those little things. And it's,
Mm.
it helps everyone to talk about those issues.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So I have one last question. I don't know if you have any more, but I have one question for you, Carlos. If you were able to go in a time machine, go back to your younger self, what one piece of advice would you have for either your career journey or your journey in pharmacy?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's a deep one.
It's a deep one.
We don't play on this show.
If I could go back, um, I would just tell myself to prepare more. That's what I would tell myself. Prepare more, study more, you know, just try and grab as much knowledge as I could um, to prepare me for the future. I think when I was younger, I would just kind of go into things head on without really
Mm.
thinking too much about it.
Yeah, you kind of slowed down your learning curve when you do that, when you're not
Yeah,
like thinking about the fundamentals, you know?
right,
Yeah.
right. And I think I would have just maybe just slowed down and just thought about things a little more in depth.
Be a little bit more of a sponge.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I was always a quick learner, but I think sometimes that is detrimental because you pick up things quickly, but in my case, I'll say in my case, I may not have asked a lot of questions because, okay, I understand this and I can replicate it, but I may not be understanding it on a deeper level because I'm not asking a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm. So going fast and far, but maybe not as deep as you should.
Sure. Yeah.
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 Okay. That's quite reflective.
That's awesome. Yeah, Frank, we have gotten so much good insight on this one. It's like I feel like I say the same thing at
Yeah.
the end of every podcast. I say,
Because we have,
man, this went
because you
by
know what it
fast.
is? I don't want to take too much credit, but we invite the right people on here.
Yeah.
We always think who has a lot to offer, and then bam, and
Yeah.
here it is, packed with calories. This was packed with calories.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's get some takeaways.
All right, so a lot of takeaways. One of my favorite takeaways of this is that we have somebody here who understands pharmaceuticals, medicine, and we talked a little bit about the culture of the United States maybe taking too many shortcuts for mental and physical health. And I think that's just a great message to everybody out there that we can take care of ourselves. And a shameless, gratuitous plug for Jiu-Jitsu is that it does hit on both of these veins, right?
Mm.
Takes care of your mental health, it takes care of your physical health. If you're into Jiu-Jitsu, you will definitely be healthier on both aspects.
Absolutely.
That was a big one that I really enjoyed. You talked about trust. Jiu-Jitsu is all about trust because you're in somebody's guillotine and they literally can kill you, right? You trust your partners, and like Jason says, your partner is your most important person on the mat. You have to take care of your partner. The trust that you develop and the bonds you develop in jiu-jitsu play right over into your job, right?
Hmm.
You said your biggest challenge was getting your team motivated and engaged. The only way to do this is if you have trust.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I thought that was a great parallel. Always, everybody always brings in the chessboard because it's so true. If everybody says it, it must be true, right?
Yeah.
So, and Jason, I liked your little twist, taking what he said, what Carlos said, and saying it's putting the right people in the right places so that they get what they need and you get the ultimate goal accomplished.
Which are like chess pieces, kind of, right?
People, oh yeah, like you're strong here, we're going to move you here. You need this, we're going to move you here. And in the end, you have to get your checkmate, which is for you delivering the medication to the right patient,
Hmm.
right? We talked about there's too many things. I can't put everything that I wrote down here. Adaptability, mindset, being malleable, being the water. You need to be the water. You can't be a stiff board in life or you'll get snapped in half.
Yep.
I like that you talked about awareness, keeping the antennae up. And you ended with one of my favorite things as well. I love that you said error is not blame. You said basically we find an error as an opportunity to learn. And then the analogy of Swiss cheese was also great because you're looking at all the ramifications that led up to no all the forces that led up to the error and then the ramifications of the error.
Hmm.
The Swiss cheese thing was great. You could probably write a mini book on that and sell it for business. So that is absolutely what we do in jiu-jitsu every day. Today was, I hate to say it, but almost a sales pitch for jiu-jitsu, wasn't it? And how it makes you better in your career.
Hmm.
So we got
Yeah, because a lot of the concepts we talked about you can apply to many different careers.
Hmm.
I think there was a lot of really great connections in Carlos's job because there's so many. There's just so many different concepts that he utilizes.
the moving
you know?
parts. Right. The moving parts, the pressure, the discipline, the focus. So it just, it's,
And being a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, he's been training for 15 years. So, if anybody's going to be able to talk about, the utilizing those principles of jiu-jitsu in his workplace,
yeah.
Carlos
Brown
got the
belt has
experience and
mastered
knowledge.
the art of jiu-jitsu, right? So,
Yep.
just another thing for anybody out there who has a business, you really should pay for the subscriptions of your employees to go to a jiu-jitsu school, because you know what? One day we'll do some research, and I guarantee you people who do jiu-jitsu are among the best employees
Mhm.
at their firms.
Mhm.
Guarantee.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Absolutely, I'd agree, Frank. Is there any last minute things, Carlos, that you'd like to share with our listeners in terms of what advice that you could give to anybody who is either looking to do jujitsu or even people who do jujitsu, how they can apply those in their workplace? Is there any last minute advice you can give them?
Well, I would say if anyone out there is thinking about trying jujitsu, definitely do it. Definitely sign up. Take the free courses if it's offered. Try it. No doubt that you will love it. And it will definitely help you in your work life, in your daily life. It's helped me tremendously. I would say don't hesitate.
Amen, and well said. And if we can get one person out there to do jujitsu, we've done a service, because that person will benefit from that. So maybe it's you, listener. Maybe it's you.
That's right. And we are at, I think at this time during our podcast right now, I can say that I think we have about 1,100 downloads now. We're in 32 different countries. And we are spreading the love. We're spreading
Yes.
the love and the knowledge of how jiu-jitsu and your career connect.
Mhm.
So we are very fortunate to be able to do this for our listeners. And listeners, please share, download,
Tell your
tell your
friends.
friends.
The beauty is you can get a lot of lessons that jujitsu would give you without doing jujitsu if you listen to us. So please share this. We appreciate you so much. Carlos, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
You're a gentleman and a scholar, and welcome to our team here and our family here.
Thank
We're
you.
glad to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Carlos.
I'm glad to be here.
All right. Peace out, everybody, and much love.
Well, there you have it. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful connections we've explored between the art of jiu-jitsu and your career. In your workplace and in jiu-jitsu, you learn to adapt and navigate challenges. So remember that persistence and the courage to embrace the lessons that you learn are the keys to your growth both on the mat and in your career.